AJ Lee had a promo on Raw coming off her Intercontinental Championship win recently over Becky Lynch. She talked about wanting to get her hands on some of the women in the locker room, and she said, come at me if you think that you're championship material. If you want to face your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler, come and get it. And then later, they announced a number one contenders match for tomorrow night on Raw for a shot. They didn't say at WrestleMania. They just said for a shot at the women's Intercontinental title. Io Sky, Asuka, Raquel Rodriguez, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, and Ivy Nile are all involved in this match. Now, I did not realize this was advertised as a gauntlet match when I said on my Raw review that I thought Ivy Nile might win this match, because you look at the lineup of names and the one that sticks out like a sore thumb is Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile is the only one who is not pushed out of all the other names in the match. So, of course, you would look at that and go, well, she's in there to take the pin. And I'm like, no. AJ Lee said the next time you see me in this ring, I'll be defending my title, which means it's going to be a Raw match. And so they're going to go with the shocking conclusion of Ivy Nile sneaking out a win just to do AJ and Ivy so AJ can get a win in a title match on Raw. And then I saw that, oh, wait, it's a gauntlet match. I said, well, that changes everything. Ivy Nile ain't winning shit in a gauntlet match. So my mistake. Asuka or Io Sky, those are the only names that should win this match. Asuka or Io should win this. And then they do the match in San Antonio, I think, the following week, maybe on 316. That's what I would do. To me, it's got to be one or the other. If you want to heal, then Asuka's your choice here, because I do think that ultimately this is going to lead to something for Asuka at WrestleMania. That's why I say Asuka, not Raquel. But Asuka or Io should win that match. And then we get AJ defending the title against one of them. But this leads nicely into this other piece of news I wanted to mention here. According to WrestleVotes Radio on Fightful Select, discussions within WWE Creative include the possibility of booking more women's matches on the WrestleMania card than ever before. They said there is currently an idea within WWE Creative that would see up to 6 women's matches make the WrestleMania card, with 5 of those considered firm plans as we stand. And they said that this would mark a new record for a single WrestleMania, topping WrestleMania 36, which featured 5 women's matches if you include the Liv Morgan versus Natalya kickoff match. And TC from WrestleVote said they've added a lot of free agents. They've added women to the roster. Tag teams have been emphasized as well. So there's a lot more room now for women to have a bigger platform in WWE. There's been a lot of emphasis on the women's storylines and the programming. A big portion of the weekly programming on Raw and SmackDown has been women's matches. I've talked about the strength of the women's division, overall women's division. The women's division on SmackDown was just ravaged, and they just were far too slow in trying to build it back up, and they're still trying to build it back up. But injuries especially, I think, really played havoc with whatever their plans would have been for WrestleMania this year. But they have a very strong pool of women's talent to draw from, not just on Raw and SmackDown, but at the Performance Center and in NXT. And it has been strengthened a lot by all of the female talent they have recruited over the past several years that are down at the PC, right? It's like they've had them stockpiled down there. Evolution last year was one of the best shows all year. I had it as the second best WWE show of the year behind Elimination Chamber. As far as WrestleMania is concerned, the women have stolen the show or have come pretty damn close multiple times over the past few years. Last year, my match of the year was Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. You go back to WrestleMania 39, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley had one of the best matches all weekend. Same for Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. WrestleMania 38, Bianca and Sasha. They got the night one main event at WrestleMania 37, and they had a great one too. Boy, Bianca ties into a lot of these matches, doesn't she? So I don't mind this. I think it would be well earned if it works out this way, because in many ways they have been carrying things for a while. And if they're going to get that many matches on the card, then it would be well deserved. So what are we looking at? Well, we know Rhea Ripley is challenging Jade Cargill for the WWE Women's Championship. And, eventually when we do get Bianca Belair back, Bianca against Jade, that's not even the match I really want to see. It's Rhea Ripley against Bianca Belair. That could be a big enough match with the right story told to main event one of the 2 nights of WrestleMania. Easily. Easily. But we're getting Rhea against Jade. We're getting Liv Morgan against Stephanie Vicaire for the women's world title. So those 2 are guaranteed. We already know those 2 are confirmed. Now, we're probably going to end up getting another AJ Lee Becky Lynch match for the Intercontinental title. Even though I wouldn't mind seeing them split off and do other things, that's probably going to be the match. That's 3. Nia Jackson, Lash Legend. They're going to be defending the women's tag team titles, I'm sure. At least against the Bella Twins, who we have not seen, by the way, in over a month since they proclaimed that they were going after the women's tag team titles. We have not seen them since. That does not mean they will not be on the WrestleMania card. I am sure they will be fighting for those championships. And it's looking like it's probably going to be a multi-team match. That's how you get Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss in there, because they've done nothing to suggest they're going to, kind of feud them against each other yet. So Charlotte and Alexa are still going after the tag team titles. They made that clear, I think, on Friday. Bayley and Lyra, right? Where the hell else do they fit in, if not in here? So we're probably looking maybe at a 4-way. Yeah, maybe a 4-way women's tag team title match. What is that? Is that 4? 1, 2. Yeah. So that's probably what we're looking at there. Maybe even a ladder match. The only title that would not be defended, though, if all of these championships I just mentioned are defended, that would only leave the Women's United States Championship to not be defended on this show. And it just seems, I don't know, implausible. I guess it's really not implausible given these people, but it seems very unfair if it ends up that every other championship is defended but that one. What a slap in the fucking face to Julia that would be. So maybe we end up with Julia against Io Sky, right? Although the way their promo went on Monday, it was Rhea Ripley saying goodbye to Io for now, because Io was staying on Raw. Rhea ventures off to SmackDown. So I'm not sure that Io is going to venture over to SmackDown to join her and then end up challenging Julia. I think what may be more likely, if let's say Io wins that gauntlet match tomorrow night, and let's say that she gets a title match with AJ Lee on television in the next couple of weeks. Becky Lynch gets involved, or Asuka and Kairi get involved. Either way, right? Either way, they screw Io out of a win. It would make more sense for it to be Asuka, though, if the plan was to do Io against Asuka at WrestleMania, which is a match that I have been waiting to see, and we still haven't gotten it yet. Io against Asuka with Kairi at ringside. And this is where Kairi's saying, finally breaks free of Asuka's spell and stands up for herself, right? That would be a good story to tell. Then they could have Julia instead defend the U.S. title against Tiffany Stratton, because Tiffany is a pretty big name on that SmackDown roster that has no obvious match or direction for WrestleMania. And she was gone for a while, and she came back recently. It would defy all logic for her not to have a match at WrestleMania, when a year ago on that show, she was wrestling Charlotte Flair for the Women's Championship. Now, we've seen Tiffany beefing on TV recently with Chelsea Green and Alba Fire. Chelsea has a legit broken ankle. I don't know what her status for WrestleMania is going to be. It's not a horrendous break, but there is a break in her ankle. So Julia against Tiffany may be the way to go, and that would get us to 6 women's matches. And that's without even accounting for Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez. But again, Bayley and Lyra, Roxanne and Raquel, you could always have them involved in that tag team championship match. It doesn't have to be 4 teams. It could be 5. It could be 6. It almost feels like it's going to end up being a dumping ground for all the women that don't have another match at WrestleMania. Charlotte and Alexa, again, it's not going to be a singles match. They're going to be involved in whatever's going on with the tag team titles. But what this also means is that we could be looking at the largest WrestleMania card, top to bottom, in the history of this company, with as many as 16 matches planned for WrestleMania this year, which I believe would tie the record set by WrestleMania 4 in 1988. That had that one night only tournament for the WWF title. That show also had 16 matches, 16 mostly very short matches. At least here it would be spread out over the course of 2 nights, right? You have 8 matches on one night, 8 matches on the next night. I like that. I think that's a good number. This comes from Bodyslam.net. Sources indicate to Bodyslam that WrestleMania 42 will feature at least 14 matches over the 2 nights. Another source indicated that the card could have a solid 16 matches this year, with the earlier start time that was announced recently. That announced start time is 6 p.m. Eastern. Because remember, the first night of WrestleMania is going to be live for the first hour on ESPN2. And then the first hour of the second night of WrestleMania is going to be live on ESPN. And then everybody will have to switch over to ESPN Unlimited if they're not already watching it on there. It'll be simulcasting on there. So, I mean, the way things have been trending with these shorter PLE cards, I was worried it was going to be less. Like, if it ends up being 16 or 15 or whatever, I'll be pleasantly surprised. Because I really didn't think the way things have been trending that we would even get that many matches. You know, getting 8 matches per night would be a good thing, I think, for a big show like this. Just keep the filler very minimal. Even if they do 7 matches one night and then 8 matches on the other night, I think that's fine because you got the Hall of Fame inductees. They have to be introduced on one of those nights. So one of those nights could be shorter by a match to accommodate for the Hall of Fame stuff.